Power is never granted freely. It is taken secured and maintained by those who possess the resources to control others. At the heart of this truth lies money, the most potent weapon in the arsenal of any man who seeks to rise above mediocrity. Wealth is not merely coins, notes, or numbers in a bank account. It is the invisible chain that commands obedience, shapes laws, bends morals, and forces even the proudest to kneel. Men deceive themselves when they say power comes from virtue, intelligence, or kindness. These traits can inspire, but without wealth, they collapse like fragile structures in a storm. A man who has no wealth can speak wisdom, but his words are drowned out by the voice of the wealthy fool who can purchase attention. Money is the amplifier of all human potential, the foundation upon which every empire, dynasty, and legacy has been built. Imagine a man of great intellect but no resources. His ideas may carry brilliance, but he cannot publish them, spread them, or command an audience to hear them. Now, consider a man with gold but no intellect. He can hire others to write for him, to speak for him, to manufacture an image of wisdom where none exists. He can purchase loyalty, silence opposition, and erase criticism. The truth, therefore, is unavoidable. Wealth transforms even mediocrity into power, while poverty strangles greatness before it can breathe. Wealth builds fortresses that protect you from the chaos of the world. It shields you from dependency on the goodwill of others, which is the most dangerous position a man can be in. The wealthy are courted, respected, and even feared. Their time is valued, their presence demanded, and their absence felt. The poor, on the other hand, are ignored until they are needed as tools. They are spoken to with promises, but abandoned once their use has ended. Wealth changes not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. It gives a man the authority to say no without consequence and yes with absolute command. History offers endless examples of men who rose not because of their virtue, but because of their wealth. Kings maintained loyalty not through words, but through the gold that paid their armies. Merchants gained influence in courts because their wealth bought access to decision makers. Even in modern times, the richest men shape the laws of nations without ever needing to step into politics themselves. They do not need to persuade the masses. They simply purchase the voices of those who already command them. Money is the engine that drives influence, the silent voice that whispers in every ear, the hidden sword that strikes without being seen. But wealth is not only about control over others, it is also about control over oneself. Poverty forces a man into choices he does not want to make. He eats what he can afford, not what he desires. He works where he is hired, not where he wishes. He submits to superiors he does not respect just to survive. Poverty erodes dignity, steals freedom, and locks ambition inside a cage. Wealth, however, liberates. It allows a man to decide how he will live, where he will go, whom he will associate with, and when he will act. The man with wealth is the master of his time, while the man without it is a slave to the clock of others. Wealth also serves as a weapon of defense. Those without it are exposed to exploitation. They cannot defend their reputation, their property, or their honor because all these things require resources to protect. A man with wealth can afford lawyers, guards, influence, and silence. He is untouchable because his money extends his reach into every corner of society. The poor man may be right in principle, but if he cannot enforce his rights, his principles are worthless. The foundation of security is not justice, not morality, but wealth. Every man who has risen to greatness has understood this truth, whether he admitted it publicly or not. Wealth is the soil from which all power grows. Without it, nothing lasting can be built. Even talent, without wealth, is dependent on the charity of others. And charity is a weak foundation because it can be withdrawn at any time. The man who possesses wealth does not ask, he commands. He does not beg, he dictates. He does not seek approval, he creates the conditions where approval is irrelevant. To underestimate the role of wealth is to live in self-deception. Society may flatter the poor with words of equality, dignity, and respect, but in practice, these words collapse when faced with the cold reality of money. Wealthy are forgiven for crimes, excused for mistakes, and celebrated for mediocrity, while the poor are punished for failures, blamed for circumstances, and ignored in their suffering. Money is not only the foundation of power, it is the great equalizer that turns even the weakest into rulers and keeps the strongest humble if they lack it. Dependence is the quiet poison that destroys men without them realizing it. It creeps into their lives when they allow themselves to live under the control of others. When they mistake survival for freedom, when they accept scraps as if they were privileges. Dependence is not always visible. It does not always come with chains or prison walls. It disguises itself as employment, as safety, as stability. But in truth, it is slavery dressed in polite clothing. The man who depends on another for his bread, his roof, or his future is not free. His choices are shaped not by his will, but by the hand that feeds him. He is reduced to waiting, asking, and hoping. 3 positions no powerful man should ever accept. At the root of dependence is a lack of wealth. A man without money cannot dictate his own path. He cannot refuse commands he dislikes, nor can he stand against those who exploit him. If he does, he risks losing the little security he clings to. This is the condition of most men. They obey not because they respect authority, but because they cannot afford to disobey. Their lives are guided by the fear of losing the small comforts that others grant them. Their freedom is an illusion because they never own the means to sustain themselves without permission. Dependence strips away dignity in ways subtle and humiliating. Consider the worker who must endure insults from his superior, knowing that speaking back may cost him his income. Consider the man who stays in a relationship he despises because he cannot afford to live alone. Consider the one who smiles falsely at those he hates because they hold the keys to his survival. These are not free men. They are actors, playing roles written by others. Their laughter is hollow, their choices constrained, their pride sold cheaply. They are bound by invisible chains tighter than any iron shackles because the mind itself is enslaved when a man knows he cannot walk away. The cruel truth is that those who provide resources know this power. The one who controls your survival controls your spirit. He can demand loyalty, obedience, and even affection, not because he deserves it, but because you cannot afford to refuse him. Dependence breeds exploitation because it places one man at the mercy of another. And mercy is a dangerous thing to rely on, for it changes with moods, circumstances, with whims. Today a master may be kind, tomorrow he may grow cruel, and you, the dependent, must accept both. This reality makes wealth not just a tool of luxury, but a weapon of liberation. Without wealth, you are owned. You may not see the chains, but they are there, woven into every decision you cannot freely make. You wake when told, work when ordered, rest when permitted, and eat what is affordable. A man in such a position cannot claim to be his own. He is a shadow of what he could be, existing not as a master of his life, but as an extension of another's will. His very time belongs to someone else, because he cannot afford to reclaim it. Dependence also corrupts relationships. When money is absent, affection becomes conditional. Friends are loyal until you can no longer provide. Lovers are faithful until someone with greater resources appears. Families respect you only as long as you contribute something tangible. Dependence weakens every bond because those around you recognize your fragility. They know you cannot leave, cannot argue, cannot resist. They see the desperation behind your words, and desperation never inspires respect. It invites manipulation. To depend on others financially or materially is to hand them the script of your life and allow them to write your role. Even society itself thrives on this dependence. Governments promise safety, but only to those who pay or comply. Employers promise opportunity, but only in exchange for obedience. Leaders promise justice, but only while it serves their interest. The man without wealth must cling to these promises, knowing he cannot demand fulfillment. He is always waiting for handouts, for approvals, for decisions made in rooms he will never enter. He lives in the shadow of those who command resources, powerless to resist their decrees. What makes dependence so destructive is that it robs men of the courage to act. A dependent man cannot take risks. He cannot gamble for greatness because failure would strip him of the small security he clings to. He lives cautiously, timidly, always calculating how to preserve what little he has. But greatness requires daring, boldness, and the freedom to walk away from what does not serve you. Dependence suffocates that spirit. It transforms men into obedient servants who survive, but never conquer. To understand dependence is to see it for what it truly is, a slow death of freedom, disguised as stability. The man who depends is not respected, no matter what words are spoken to him. He is tolerated, used, and controlled. Only the man with wealth can say no and mean it, can walk away and not return, can command respect instead of begging for it. Dependence is the silent master of the poor, and its grip is relentless until broken by the acquisition of true abundance. Respect is not given freely. Fear is not commanded by words. Influence is not secured through morality. All these things, respect, fear, and influence, are purchased, directly or indirectly, with wealth. Men who lack money often believe that their character, their intelligence, or their good intentions are enough to gain them recognition. They cling to the fantasy that society honors virtue. But the truth is merciless. People obey not because they admire, but because they fear losing what the wealthy can grant or suffer what the wealthy can take away. Without money, you are a voice crying into the void. With money, even your silence carries weight. Wealth does not merely provide comfort, it transforms your presence into authority. When you speak as a poor man, your words are dismissed as opinion. When you speak as a wealthy man, your words are treated as law. People lean in closer, not because your ideas have changed, but because your wealth gives them consequence. They know that your approval may bring opportunity, and your disapproval may bring ruin. Wealth ensures that your voice echoes in halls where poverty cannot even enter. It creates an aura of importance, a shield of seriousness, that cannot be achieved through virtue alone. Fear is one of the greatest currencies wealth buys. The poor man may be hated, but he is rarely feared, for he lacks the means to strike back. His anger can be endured, his threats ignored, because he has no teeth. The wealthy man, however, is feared even when he does not raise his voice. Those who cross him understand that his money can fund lawsuits, buy protection, manipulate reputations, and destroy careers. His wealth is a weapon that multiplies his power beyond his physical reach. Men who would laugh at the powerless think twice before mocking the rich, for they know consequences may follow swiftly and silently. Fear is not only about violence, it is about the anticipation of consequences, and wealth gives you the ability to create consequences for anyone who dares to oppose you. Respect, too, is bought, though most deny it. A man with wealth is celebrated even when he is mediocre. His presence is honored with polite smiles, his name spoken with admiration, his mistakes excused as quirks of genius. The poor man, no matter how intelligent, is met with skepticism, suspicion, and doubt. People pretend that respect is earned by merit, but in practice, merit without wealth is invisible. Men admire those who can afford to reward them, who can open doors, who can elevate their status. Wealth magnifies even the smallest qualities into greatness, while poverty buries even the brightest talents in obscurity. Influence is perhaps the most subtle and dangerous purchase of wealth. The wealthy man need not always act directly. He hires funds and supports others who act in his interest. He places his hand on the scales of politics, business, and culture without ever showing his face. His influence seeps into laws, decisions, and trends until his desires are indistinguishable from the will of the crowd. Those without wealth cry out for fairness, but their cries are drowned by the sound of coins hitting the table. Influence is not a matter of persuasion alone. It is the control of what others can afford to believe, to say, and to do. It is tempting to believe that love stands apart from these transactions, but even love bends before wealth. A wealthy man may be cruel, yet he will find partners eager to overlook his cruelty in exchange for what he can provide. A poor man may be kind, yet his kindness will be forgotten once necessity intrudes. Love itself, when stripped of illusions, is deeply tied to resources. Families desire security, children need opportunity, partners seek stability, and all these things are purchased with money. The man with wealth is loved not only for who he is, for the life he provides. The man without wealth may be loved in words, but when hunger arrives, those words vanish. Fear, respect, and influence together form the pillars of authority, and each is bound to wealth. The man who possesses wealth can command respect without lifting a finger, instill fear without issuing a threat, and wield influence without speaking his name. His money speaks for him, louder than any voice, sharper than any weapon. The poor man must beg to be noticed. The wealthy man is noticed without effort. Society itself bends around wealth. Justice, often spoken of as impartial, is corrupted by it. The poor man faces the full weight of punishment, while the wealthy man negotiates his way out. Reputation, which the poor must guard with care, is protected for the rich by the shield of their resources. Even morality, which men pretend is absolute, becomes flexible in the presence of wealth. Those with power redefine right and wrong to suit their needs, while those without wealth are forced to comply. Respect is given not to the purest, but to the strongest, and strength in the modern world is measured in wealth. The brutal irony is that even those who claim to despise the wealthy secretly bow to them. They envy, they criticize, they curse, but in their hearts, they recognize that money gives the power they themselves lack. The wealthy man does not need their approval. Their disapproval changes nothing. He holds the means to silence them, to outshine them, to endure while they fade into irrelevance. Money is not only the foundation of respect and fear, it is the very substance that makes influence possible. It ensures that your will does not die in your own throat, but spreads through the actions of others, shaping a world in your image. To survive is not enough. To scrape together enough money for food, for rent, for a fleeting sense of stability is the existence of cattle, not of men who wish to command life. Abundance is the true goal, because only through excess wealth can a man shield himself from betrayal, control his destiny, and secure influence that cannot be challenged. The pursuit of abundance must be ruthless, because anything less invites mediocrity and subjugation. The world does not respect sufficiency. It bows to those who possess more than they need, because abundance creates distance between the powerful and the powerless. The man who earns only enough to cover his needs lives permanently on the edge of collapse. One misfortune, an illness, an accident can strip away everything. He walks on a thin rope, always fearing the fall. His wealth is survival, not power. Such a man cannot say no when opportunity arises, because he cannot afford to lose it. He cannot reject exploitation, because he depends on the little he has. His mind is consumed not by vision or strategy, but by worry and the endless calculation of how to stretch what little he owns. This is not freedom, it is imprisonment by scarcity. Abundance, on the other hand, creates true independence. The man with excess wealth has no master. He is immune to the threats that enslave the average man. He does not fear losing one stream of income because he has many. He does not tremble at the possibility of rejection because he can create opportunities on his own. He does not worry about tomorrow because his wealth has already conquered it. This abundance grants him the ability to act boldly, to risk, to seize opportunities others are too timid to touch. It is abundance that transforms men into conquerors, while mere survival reduces them to servants. Ruthlessness is required in this pursuit because society itself is designed to keep men average. You are told to save modestly, to work diligently, to live within your means. These are the teachings of those who benefit from your mediocrity. They encourage caution because your caution ensures their dominance. To rise above, you must reject this poison. You must be willing to sacrifice comfort, to endure hardship, to be condemned as greedy or arrogant. Abundance is never achieved by those who wait for permission. It is taken by those who endure the hatred of the mediocre, while they rise beyond them. Abundance also protects against betrayal. Men are loyal as long as it benefits them, and nothing secures loyalty more than wealth. When you have more than enough, you can bind people to you with rewards greater than they could find elsewhere. You can silence critics, purchase allies, and secure devotion not through love, but through necessity. The man with just enough cannot do this. His allies will leave when tempted by greater offers. His enemies will strike knowing he cannot afford defense, and his friends will pity him but never follow him. Abundance eliminates this weakness, for it creates a gravitational pull that keeps others in orbit around your power. The pursuit of abundance also grants immortality of a kind. Men die, but their wealth endures, shaping the lives of those who come after them. Dynasties, legacies, institutions, all of them are built not on virtue, but on the accumulation of wealth so vast it cannot be ignored. Abundance ensures that your name is carried forward not by memory alone, but by the institutions and power your wealth sustains. The man who dies with only enough for himself vanishes with the grave. The man who dies with abundance leaves behind an empire, whether small or vast, continues to extend his will. To pursue abundance is to understand that morality shifts when resources are in play. A poor man stealing bread is condemned, while a rich man seizing industries is praised as ambitious. Abundance reshapes morality to favor those who hold it. This is why ruthlessness is required. You must not measure yourself against the standards of those who are powerless, for their morality is designed to keep you weak. You must measure yourself against those who rule, who bend rules, who are never judged by the same laws. Abundance elevates you above the reach of common judgment, making you untouchable, because the world forgives the rich what it condemns in the poor. The man who does not pursue abundance ruthlessly condemns himself to dependence, humiliation, and fragility. He may achieve moments of comfort. Comfort is fragile. He may build modest savings, but modesty can be erased in a single disaster. He may tell himself he has enough. This illusion collapses the moment he is forced to beg, borrow, or compromise. Abundance is the only shield against life's cruelty, the only guarantee of lasting influence, the only path to true self-mastery. Those who pursue it timidly are forgotten, while those who pursue it ruthlessly are remembered, feared, and respected long after their enemies have vanished. The truth of wealth is merciless yet undeniable. Without it, men are chained by dependence, stripped of dignity, and silenced no matter how sharp their minds or noble their intentions. With it, the world reshapes itself to their command. Voices are heard, enemies are silenced, loyalty is purchased, and power extends beyond flesh into legacy. Wealth is not about luxury, it is about freedom, control, and survival in a world that respects nothing else. To acquire only enough is to remain fragile, to remain one misfortune away from ruin. To acquire abundance is to stand untouchable, feared by rivals, respected by allies, and liberated from the need to beg or obey. Those who understand this pursue wealth with a ruthlessness that others call greed, but in truth, it is the only strategy that ensures dominance, independence, and permanence in a world where weakness is devoured without hesitation.